Good morning. I'm Kristen Folletti, and welcome to News Desk on SiliconANGLE TV for Friday, June 14th, 2013. New York's Attorney General and San Francisco's District Attorney have teamed up to announce an initiative to push the technology industry to develop technologies aimed at reducing smartphone thefts. Join us now to provide his breaking analysis on this new initiative is SiliconANGLE contributing editor John Casaretto. Good morning, John. Good to see you.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. According to the FCC, cell phone thefts account for roughly 40% of all robberies nationwide, with 113 smartphones lost or stolen each minute in the U.S. Yesterday afternoon, a meeting was held with representatives from Apple, Samsung, Google's Motorola unit, and Microsoft to explain the new initiative. So, John, what can you tell us about this new initiative and their plans and the focus of yesterday's meeting?
Well, there's this new group called the Secure Our Smartphones Initiative. It's comprised of a bunch of prosecutors, officials, political officials, law enforcement, and consumer advocates that have gotten together from a number of states to address this problem. It's a growing problem, and they're seeking to get this increase in crime and smartphone thefts to get some action around this and push the industry in such a way that they can develop technologies that will help discourage this theft and really dry up the market for stolen devices.
San Francisco's district attorney has stated that the industry has the moral and social obligation to fix this problem. So, John, do you agree with his statement that tech companies are obligated to stop the problem?
Well, I think the words moral and social are some pretty strong words, and it doesn't surprise me that came from the one guy that was from San Francisco. But I think it points out something that's a good thing in a way that was pretty strong. But that some people are speaking up now, and that really matters because it's bringing attention to this issue, and hopefully the companies do listen to these legitimate concerns and start to look at this problem and try to figure out exactly what they need to do to try to help. So there is some obligation there for sure.
Why do you think it is that technology companies haven't introduced a sort of kill switch device sooner? What concerns might arise from such a feature?
Well, profits drive everything, and if any of the companies at any given point had seen a competitive or financial reason to come out with something that was unique that could fix this problem, well, they would have, at least if they could do so at a cost benefit, right?
Mhm.
So perhaps now this is that event. I think that if there are concerns, they would be around the security aspects of the power of what that kill switch has, but at the same time, they also fear that they could lose sales because consumers do a bunch of things with these phones, like modify their phones and resell them and so on. So the impact is unknown, and the market's been highly resistant to the phones actually having a bunch of locking features and things that typically are designated to prevent modification of the phone, but eventually they find a way around it. So
Mhm.
it's one of those things where it's the cat chasing the mouse, and it's one of those issues where they introduce this kill switch that they may continue to have some issues for some time working this thing out.
On Monday, Apple announced that its next mobile operating system, iOS 7, will come with a new feature called Activation Lock that will help thwart theft. So, do we know about this new feature and how it will work?
Yeah, well, this feature is designed. It's this basically what it will do is disable the iPhone if a thief takes it, and especially in cases where it comes out is where the thief has taken the phone, turned it off, erased the data on the phone. When the phone comes back on, it can only be reactivated after that user logs in with the right Apple ID and the password. So it seems like it's somehow in the OS hard coded so that regardless of what happens to the underlying phone, it's going to require that level of integration.
Now, does Apple's Activation Lock feature meet the demands of the Attorney General and District Attorney's initiative, or would it require further modification?
Well, that's a good question. That remains to be seen over the years and how we've really played this out. We've seen again a lot of creative people find a lot of ways to get around a lot of these controls on these phones. Everything from rooting phones, jailbreaks, the city, a whole market of apps that are not approved, wiping and reprogramming phones. It's possible there may be ways around this, and it really remains to be seen. There's also a big market for phone parts as well, and this does nothing about that. Screens are worth something, the cases and things like that, batteries. Additionally, that's one issue, but additionally, one of the issues that we have here as well is that what happens internationally in those international markets where this is less of an issue or less of a feature that people want. These phones are made for the world, and the reach of these companies as well is, this is a U.S. only based, the scope of what they can control. And if it's on the wireless carriers, well, they've only got a certain market. There's just a lot of issues to be worked out, and we'll have to see whether that meets their initiative. And I think those are the biggest issues there.
In a previous discussion on our program, we had commented that smartphone makers may be avoiding a kill switch due to the potential loss in sales that happens when individuals' phones are stolen and then they have to repurchase a new one. Are you surprised that Apple has sort of taken the high road here, or do you not interpret it that way?
Well, I think that part of the issue is Apple is a big target. It's hip with the kids and that kind of thing. So I think that they're open to a lot of this criticism here. It's a high dollar item that falls under this plague. It's got a lot of your personal information, pictures, contacts, and things like that. A good friend of mine, he's a high school teacher out in South Carolina, and we had a conversation recently about this and how many iPhones were being regularly stolen and
Hmm.
lost at the school. He asked me for some advice on what he can do, and there's really only so many good answers. They only go so far. And the fact of the matter is, the phones end up in certain hands, and the kids are smart enough to find out, hey, all I got to do is wipe this phone out or find someone who can. So, the fact that Apple is taking this step at this point is not a surprise because they're largely they're a pretty big target.
Hmm. Do we know anything about how this initiative would make manufacturers comply with these demands?
No, but there is a quote that came out of this that said that the stakes were very high and they intend to pursue this with every tool in their toolbox. So they're very serious about their concerns, and they're willing to pull all the resources they can into this to get some action out of it.
Do you think that other mobile giants are going to now follow suit with Apple's activation lock feature?
I think that the market will follow what people want, what features they want. If it's a hit, they focus on this. It becomes a focal point. This could be something that we start to see some other mobile giants step up and say, "Hey, we do this too." Just about a year ago, the wireless carriers had gotten together and they started a nationwide database of these phones. It was supposed to blacklist phones as they were reported stolen and prevent them from being reactivated on another American network. But the statistics actually indicate that these thefts have actually gone up, and it's been largely ineffective. And they don't have an answer why. They haven't really come out with an answer why. So they need to look into that as well. So there's a couple things. There's devices. There's the carriers. Where are the phones popping up? Are they popping up in China and being resold? I mean, who knows?
Do you see any problems that could potentially arise for consumers who own a phone that is has a kill switch on it?
I think that yeah, there's a big issue with that in that there could be a number of glitches, major exploits that look at that and how to affect many people somehow by just malice, and there could be a large resale on effect on the resale market as well. So I think that they're going to approach this with baby steps and evolve this as they look to address this issue, and make sure that they basically avoid any of these giant issues that they could have because we're talking about many users, and again, for the same reasons, that personal information, all that stuff that belongs to you, your pictures and your emails and all these different things, your contacts, your whole life. A lot of people put so much into their phones, and
Hmm.
um, it would be a disaster if something were to exploit that, or a glitch or some type of flaw were to go out there and wipe out a bunch of phones. And I think that's some of the things that they're going to be looking at.
Well, John, thank you so much for your comments this morning. It's great to have you on, and have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend. Thank you.
And coming up here on News Desk, Microsoft Office comes to your iPhone, and Apple partners with Logitech to create an iPhone game controller. But first, Wikibon co-founder and CTO David Floyer joins us to discuss and compare storage vendor strategies.